Welcome back. You here at Goldberg. Today I want to talk about two different subjects. One being Aaron Clary's notion that women don't really want men, and then, of course, a response to some of the questions posed by Hormaxer. Now, I know Hormaxer's gotten some flack because he went on Omegle, and their arguments are, well, in these countries the laws are different. Nevertheless, it's not something I would do. I'm not going to condone it or endorse it here. But his other question was,
Dr. Goldberg, have you ever tried a tasty trap?
which in their lingo is a trans woman. No, that's the answer, nor do I have any intention of doing so. From my perspective, if you're going to bang a dude with a ding-a-ling just because they're in a dress, how far of a reach around is that really from just banging an effeminate gay guy? Now, I know the guy doing it is going to conceive of it, well, no, it's a woman, but that's not a bridge I can cross. Nevertheless, I do find Hormaxer fascinating from a sociological perspective because a lot of folks who are, in a sense, pioneering something, and I'm not saying that in a positive light, we always think progress is good, it's morally desirable. Not necessarily, it's just how things are progressing. And of course, if you look at that Freud quote that I've probably brought up or cited before, where he says men, they will turn and try to cling to tradition because they don't understand or appreciate what's around them. That's all fine and dandy. I don't see tradition having any real currency outside of small rural areas without smartphones and internet in this present scape of history, because technology is going to be a corrupting factor. It's like thinking you can put your daughter in public school and be like, well, as long as we take her to church on Sunday, she's not going to be banged by the basketball team. You hope, but that's what you're hoping. In fact, this is kind of a brutal black pill. I was talking to a guy because there's this Muslim chick. She's got like the headscarf. And he said, yeah, in high school, those girls, their parents expected them to remain trad, right? For a good Muslim boy. You know, Bismillah, praise Muhammad, praise Jesus, But what would happen in effect is they would say, okay, we can't do what the infidel girls are doing, but the booty is not haram. So they would take it up the ass from like a Chatter Tyrone and still be ready as a virgin for a good Muslim boy when they're older. And that's kind of sad, right? In fact, someone pointed this out with MGTOWs. They'll say stuff like, we're not getting married until the laws change. But what does that say if you're willing to get married just because a law is different? So this woman is now afraid of leaving you because she won't be able to make money in this new trad model, or she's scared of you. I mean, is that really the basis for a healthy relationship where a person is afraid of leaving? I'm not entirely convinced. And hell, she could still be doing it. You're at work and she's smoking another dude. It just strikes me as being kind of, a lot of these guys, they seem it. Like I said, they want to be beta male providers, but then they're, well, we're against the system, but if we have a system that protects our ability to be beta male providers, we'll be fine with it. I don't really get that. Returning, however, to Hormaxer, so he was at one point doing hard-hitting health truth, so it was a health/MGTOW channel, and he would talk about good supplements to take, and then also be like, all these women spam toilets. He was skinny, he was a vegan or vegetarian, but at a certain point he says, I'm sick of this, starts watching Lux Maximus, takes roids, juices up, and wants to embrace the androcentric black pill, which is essentially the idea that you do that, you get really big in the gym, but you still pay for prostitutes. However, you're going to get a superior experience because she actually likes the way you look. It's not just, okay, get it over with, this guy's disgusting. This is in contrast, as they term it, to pigeon dancing for a woman, trying to be a simp, whatnot. And so he does that. He goes to some swingers clubs. He tries to go for prozzies, but of course prozzies in the US are not the cheapest. So unless you're going overseas, it's still going to be somewhat expensive. So if you're middle-aged and you don't have a lot of moolah, shekels, it can be kind of difficult to pursue that lifestyle effectively. Or you may just not want to. You might say, these are just too expensive. I refuse to pay that price. So more recently, he's kind of delved into the whole, they call them troons or traps, like the trans women. And, people think it's crazy, which, like I said, that's not something for me at all. But I wonder if it doesn't signal what we're going to see sooner than people realize. You see, there's been this long running idea that you would have gay men who weren't maybe the best looking or they just wanted more options, so they would become women as a way of attracting quote unquote straight men, right? And if you've seen this TV show or miniseries Accused, it had kind of a good example of that. The one episode, Sean Bean plays, he's this gay English teacher, but he moonlights as Tracy because as a regular bloke, I wouldn't get no lads. But as Tracy, they all want me. I don't know why, because Sean Bean still looks very manly with all that makeup. But it is indicative of how you might be trying to solve a problem with your romantic life by essentially changing your gender. And, people say, well, that's crazy. It's a bunch of, it's just a small community. But what's actually strange, I'll quickly do a diversion here. This was a scandal in Mexico in like 1901, I believe, where they caught all these high society people in a party, and like half of them were dudes wearing dresses and makeup. So I don't know if that's something that historically has been isolated to like rich degenerate circles, i.e., like the Illuminati, the Bilderbergers, the Bohemian Grove, or perhaps it's more widespread. And actually, that Secret City book, I'll put a link to it. Now, beware, it's 650 pages and it's very dense. But one of the stories they talk about is you had, I think it was his mid 1900s or early 1900s, Potomac River on a kind of those boats, right? There's this party of 1,700 black dudes dressed as women that's broken up by the Caucasian supremacist police. And I was going, why don't we hear about that stuff? I guess it was so covered up, assuming it's not just sensationalist gay people trying to pretend there's more gays than actually exist. But I can somewhat imagine it, just seeing all this degeneracy that's coming out because of more liberalism. And you wonder, was it just beneath the surface? And all this like socially conservative society was bursting at the seams in reality. But we want to look back, oh yeah, it was tradition, it was based, everything was great. I don't know. Hard to say. Because we didn't live through it, we didn't know, right? And a lot of it was hushed hushed. Going back to the becoming trans, maybe it's a different strategy. Maybe, as I've alluded to before, guys will become trans as a way of either boosting their social status. You know how Rachel Dolezal said as a black woman she had more opportunities than as a white woman? Well, as a woman, you have more protections and advantages. But even in terms of dating, you become a woman and you could, if you consider yourself a straight guy, but you're trying to go for decent looking lesbian women, which of course, oh, they're all butch and ugly. Not the ones I've seen recently. There's typically one person that will be more masculine, but a lot of these chicks are actually not that bad looking. Like I talked about when I was at trade school, this pretty hot redhead starts, and all the guys like, oh yeah, simp and grind, red pill, red pill, simp, oh, gonna smash, red pill. And lo and behold, this fairly butch blonde is the one who bangs this chick, and not all the red pilled masculine men who work in trades. So things change a lot faster than people believe. You can't assume this is how it's always going to be. And that's one of the big mistakes, I think, of a lot of the red pill or the manosphere is the assumption that, oh, the way it was in the 50s is where it's all going to go back to inevitably. You can't guarantee that. And it's where we get into Aaron Clary's argument that maybe a lot of women don't actually need or like men. They've tolerated men over the years because men serve a purpose, but that might become less and less relevant in the future. Now, there are going to be chicks from more conservative societies that may conceive of a man as important, but even there, it could be a practical measure, hard to see, hard to be certain. Because you might hear a MGTOW say, women still need us to fight wars for them. Oh, really? So you're basically implying that the purpose of men for women is get yourself blown apart in a ditch in a conflict that'll profit guys from my tribe, right? Or, oh, they need us to fix their washing machine. Right. If they have a nice bureaucratic job with the government or corporations, they can pay you for that. That doesn't mean they're getting hot and heavy because you work in trades and, oh my God, the plumber's crack is so hot. I don't really think so. But this leads me to the question, maybe it is a strategy people are going to use. Because back in 2016, I matched on Bumble with this Indian chick, pretty good looking, full lips, nice exotic eyes, big ion cannons, and she was pretty, enthusiastic about me. I got a little turned off though because she said she smoked cigarettes. She was also raised Christian, but definitely had, I guess she was a Kigtao, Christian going their own way. And the other thing she brought up is that she liked going to gay bars to watch drag shows. Now you think about it and you're going, that's a little bit strange, right? You know, why would a woman want to do that? But it sort of dawned on me, just like you see these chicks that they like the femboys on TikTok. We talked about that before. They like the K-pop dudes that are androgynous or extremely effeminate. What's the best way to make a guy a non-threatening entity? Well, you take away his masculinity, right? You dress him up in a frickin' gown with makeup and frickin' eye coloring and all this crap, and he looks like a clown. So for a lot of women, it's easier to control someone like that. They don't have to feel like their social power is actually put on the line. All right? And that could explain why some of these dudes are going to go trans, as I'm like trying to become trans to get women. Because think about it, we hear so much from the red pill copers about the artificial wombs are going to make women unnecessary. Well, what about if it's in reverse? Because your whole men are necessary for this, men are necessary for that. You'll always have men that will do those jobs to one extent or the other. But if a woman doesn't have to take time off to have a kid, you know how much of a boon that's going to be for neoliberalism? How much more integrated they're going to be in the workforce? They're not going to have the same reason to take off months at a time. So they can have their artificial womb, IVF, or just get one of those simps, $50 for a cup. And do they really, at that point, have any need to have a guy around? Well, maybe if they want a guy, it's going to be, they could have that trans woman, right? Someone who can be controlled easily, not too dominant. They can still go out for Chad and Tyrone if they're really turned on by that, which many of them still are. Let's not get it confused. We're not talking about oofy doofy or schlubby hubby. We're talking about wanting literally a trans woman they can just control. So no one's actually threatening their power base. This is a very interesting possibility. And I don't hear anyone talking about it. They keep, oh yeah, we're going to go back to the 50s. We're going to go back to the trad. Oh, no hymen, no diamond. That stuff sounds good if you're a guy who's not like in the best position in terms of getting women. But look at how technology is advancing at a rapid clip, whether it's the artificial wombs, it's the AI, it's the social media. Do you really believe it's all going to come crashing down? I honestly believe the system is much stronger than people realize. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Do you believe we're going to see more of this trans, or is it going to recede? And, what does that say about society, where it's going to go, the role of men and the role of women in the future?